Welcome back. Oh, my friends. Oh, my friends. Welcome back to This Is Dunder Moose. It has finally happened. I have got Rule of Thule, and oh my goodness, it's so cool. I'm excited to talk about all kinds of things. We got your game coming out, BMD, First Blood. We got all kinds of BrawnSteens stuff to talk about. This guy, I think you were probably involved with the BroSR before I was even. So
Interesting.
maybe, yeah. I didn't come in until after Brovenloft. What was your first experience with those rapscallions and roustabouts?
Well, I'm pretty sure I did. I made a Twitter account basically to interact with the bros.
Okay.
I originally
Was this pre-Brovenloft or post?
I'm 90% sure it was pre-Brovenloft. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that beats me because I was just becoming aware of them during Brovenloft.
I originally found my way here through John Mollison, like so many others. John
Yeah,
Mollison, probably the greatest YouTube channel out there.
heck yeah. The joy of wargaming is a gateway drug for many of us. So what was it that you first saw of his?
I'm trying to think of what it was specifically, but
The one that
I think it was
remember,
more.
I remember one where he's like sitting in his car at the beach while it's raining, and he's talking about how you can win at RPGs. And I just remember being fascinated and falling down the rabbit hole.
I think that was actually much later.
Yeah.
I came on. I saw
I'm
him
a
talking
Johnny
about,
come lately. What can I say?
Oh yeah, sure. I saw him talking about. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to see if I can pin down the exact video. Probably not. It's just I'm not gonna. It's not gonna hit my recall.
Yeah,
But
authoritative
he's
news
talking
network
about
says undefeated pipeline.
That's right. That's right. John was talking about the mindset and the patterns that you approach the game with, and that really struck me completely. It instantly articulated a huge number of things that I was working on unconsciously without realizing it.
Well, so had you experienced a dissatisfaction with the way things were going? Is that what got you on this track, or were you excited about something and you found people that seemed to be excited about in the same direction that you were, or both?
Well, it's let's back up 1 second.
Okay.
I'll say this. So I came into this hobby from outer space. I had nothing to do with this hobby as a child. It was not a part of my youth.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I came to much later. My pedigree with games is largely board games, video games. I mean, I'm one of those guys that I'm basically like an elder millennial. So we were the video game generation.
What were some of the formative video games that you played?
Well, there was plenty, but when I was very young, I mean, we're talking about the early PC games, like the DOS games. The one that I always remember in particular that was really, I guess there were two. One of them was Doom, which I was fascinated by, and the other was a game called Wizardry 7. It's a wizardry game, and obviously that has a pedigree that traces back to AD&D, which is something I had no concept of at the time.
The only thing I know about wizardry, I saw there was a Japanese animation, like it had subtitles, and it was called Wizardry, something about testing yourself in the dungeon, or I can't remember.
Right. It's actually really good, and I did a huge thread where I basically analyzed that as if it was a BroSR campaign.
Nice. Yeah, because they got like elevators in the dungeon, and like, I mean, they had a monk,
yeah, absolutely,
fighters, and yeah, it was quite something. All right, so but you haven't been playing role playing games. You're coming at it from something else. So what was your first taste of that?
The first entry, and I won't spend too long on this. I usually don't like this kind of question, but my
It
initial
is a
hit,
lot of people's go-to. How did you get into
right?
gaming, right?
Yeah, my initial just hit into RPGs was, I'm 99% sure it was D&D 3.5.
Okay.
And if you know anything about that, you know it's a
Not a bit.
terrible system. I guess I should say that it's a really great system, but it's a terrible role playing game. It's a terrible. It
Oh.
does not have any of the BrawnSteen DNA left in it. It's totally gone.
The only thing I know about it is that like it's crunchy and that like when 4 came
Sure.
out, everybody wanted to keep playing it, like did Pathfinder instead. That's all that's the
Yeah,
extent
exactly.
of
That's
my
exactly
knowledge
what
on that
happened.
one.
I actually ended up doing the same thing, but as far as the question about what led me here, excitement or dissatisfaction, I would have to say that it was generally dissatisfaction.
Okay.
It was I sensed that there was something to this idea of role playing games, and I just didn't know how to articulate it to myself. I ended up playing. I ended up going into very different, or what I thought was very different games. I should have gone back in the past, obviously, hindsight. But
Well,
I ended
there's
up
speed
playing a
bumps
game.
in front
Yeah,
of that though, right? Like
right.
if you're used to modern layouts, like the font is tiny and everything's crunched up and like especially if you look at some of those old like Judges Guild where it just looks like it was typed up on a typewriter, you know? Um
Yeah,
there's like little subtle cues to your brain if you're trying to go backwards that say, "Oh, it might not be here." And that's deceptive because that's where the real magic is in those old hand cobbled things, right?
it's funny you say that because that particular element would never turn me away from stuff like
Hmm.
that, because I'm the kind of guy who I like reading. Jeffro talks about don't read anything before 1980. I'm more of a like don't read anything before 1080.
Okay. You mean after? Don't read anything after
Yeah,
1080.
sorry, yeah. After
Okay.
1080. Yeah.
1080. Is that even English? Is that early modern English?
It's getting into English. Yeah.
Okay.
You've got they're speaking Saxon, or what do they call it? Old English, right, at that
Mm-hmm.
time. But anyway, it's coming around at that time.
Right on.
But
Just get your Oxford English dictionary handy and good to go.
but the old stylings of things is not something that would have turned me away. But
Hmm.
anyway, I ended up playing. I ended up getting into a game called Stars Without Number,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and this was a critical. This was where I found something critical, because this game has a mechanic in it called faction turns, which is something that I had not seen before in other
Hmm.
games. I mean, you see things like this referred to, or people give nods to it in the fluff or whatever. They're talking about, oh, this is. They'll talk about something like this happening in the intro of the book, but there's nothing actually mechanically causing it to happen. But in Stars Without Number, and it's a game by Kevin Crawford, by the way, if
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for that. Um, the faction turn is something that happens every month. So 1 month passes and it's a faction turn. And of course, how do you deal with that? How do you, if you're playing in the conventional way, as everybody always does, you're just using
Yeah.
pause time. People will just say, "Well, we
Their
just let
brain just
six
slides right
months
off of something
get
like that.
we just let 6 months go by, and now I'm healed up," or whatever. They're used to doing that. They're used to destroying the passage of time. They're used to just
Mm-hmm.
annihilating time immediately. And the faction turn does not work at all unless you acknowledge it, unless you carry it out fully.
Yeah.
And so there was a question for me, like, how do I implement this into the game? Because I found this really interesting. I don't know. I was fascinated by this idea. And I ended up doing, and I didn't have a name for it. I ended up trying many different things. We would try, like 1 week is 1 day, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And 1-to-1 time, just saying, well, if it's Wednesday the 27th in our world, then it's Wednesday the 27th in the campaign world. that was just so much easier. That was
Yeah.
dramatically easier than everything else that was tried. And you
It
run
just
into these
makes sense
problems
right off
about,
the bat. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you run into these things like time jail, where people are saying, well, we come back, we meet up the next week, but they're stuck, they're still stuck somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a question of how do you deal with that? And I think we tried, and again, I did not have, I could not articulate what we were doing at the time. I did not understand myself what was happening. I just knew there was something that was interesting about this, and I was trying to make it work.
So tell
And
me about your group. Is this online or face to face?
oh, this was many years ago. This was
Mm-hmm.
probably, I want to say it was like 2012 or 2014 or something like that.
Okay.
So this was quite a few years ago that that Stars Without Number happened, and I think that's where I got a taste of something that I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the magic was. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
explain it,
You
and I
bumped
was
into
thinking,
something in the dark.
that's right. And I was thinking, I need to, this is revolutionary to me. This is something that this enhances the aspect of role playing. Like this elevates the game world, the campaign world in a way that nothing else does.
Elevates
I
it.
mean, how many times do you play in a campaign where you're just, everybody just is shredding time? You just say, oh yeah, we skipped 6 months. Okay. All right. We skipped another 8 months. You're just annihilating time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's nothing, like it's pocket change. You're just dumping it into the river. And the game world, there's an implication that nothing is happening, and that implication is
Yeah.
always there, and you don't realize it until you stop yourself from doing it.
Huh.
And when you're tied to the calendar, when you're tied to the passage of time in real life is the passage of time in the campaign, now everything has space, everything has this room for things to happen. And that was the essential ingredient that made
Okay.
the faction turns work, because now
So
you could resolve the faction turns and then have the players react to that, and so on and so forth.
yeah. So like the ball gets passed between the larger over game and the intimate party game, and they're living in a world that is not just pausing for them. Did you
Exactly
ever
right.
did you ever play the Halo games?
Not really. I mean,
So
I
one
played it at a friend's house, but
so it was a first person shooter, but one of the things that always struck me about that, and I think it's true about like maybe one of the Warhammer 40K characters, like either a dreadnought or maybe like the one of the assassins. But like Master Chief would come out, he'd be frozen in a pod. They'd open the pod when they needed him, and they'd hand him a rifle, and then he would just go like have
right,
this just violent fight for the lives of humanity. And as soon as he won, they would freeze him back in the pod until they needed him again.
right.
And I always thought that was kind of tragic that like he got all of the terror and none of the boring downtime. He didn't, and as far as he knew, it was just like we're just always in trouble. We're always dying. I always got to fight. And
Right.
it's kind of the opposite of that. When you destroy time like that, your characters all do a Master Chief, but when they come out of it again, the world has just T-posed until it's ready for them again. Right? Like
Exactly.
everything
Nothing
freezes.
happens. That's the problem.
Nothing
The
is
game world
happening.
isn't real. It's an illusion. It is just a puppet show. It's just you realize that all you're doing is making a little puppet show so that your player characters can do something, have something to interact with. And that the realization about that the game world needs to be above, in some sense, the game world needs to be above the
Yeah.
things that inhabit it. That was the key. That was the key aspect.
Because I'm sure we're triggering some cognitive dissonance with this conversation right now. I'm sure there's going to be people watching this with their mouths open, shaking their heads because they've never experienced that. And I don't think it's like you said, you can't really notice how empty that is until you try it the other way and see how that feels, and then it becomes obvious.
Yes,
But when you're inside of it, when that's all you've ever done is pause timing, it seems ridiculous what we're saying. They're like, why would you be
yes, that's
dissatisfied
right.
with something that nobody else even thinks about? But it's like, but once you have tasted it, it's very hard to go back into the smaller version of the game where the world is like a video game, just goes on pause until you want to advance
right.
it.
There is
And
another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the corollary to that also seems on the face of it, if I'm a theory crafter, if I haven't played it for myself and I'm just imagining it, it makes me less important in the world because now stuff can happen that doesn't care about me. Stuff can happen on its own
Yes.
and it can be detrimental to me. And you would think that's not as good because then I don't get to be the special hero. I don't get to be the main character. But I find, and you can tell me about your experiences with it, I find it's quite the opposite. I find that it's very fascinating and engaging when you realize you aren't the main character, the world is. And the things that you do, it's going to respond. And there's going to be things that it takes the initiative on, and you've got to figure out how you're going to respond. Is that what you found?
That is a perfect way to put it. The game world is the main character.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just a supporting cast, we'll say, if you want to use that metaphor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of got knocked off several trains of thought. But
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's such a
I do that
perfect.
a lot. And the
It's
chat does it
really.
to me too.
It's such an important thing, and I think one of the petty things that I hate about pause time is when you pause in, let's just call it a dungeon. You pause in some kind of dangerous situation, and when you come back next week, Carl isn't there, and so his character is just walking around with his mouth open or whatever,
Yeah.
and everybody's pretending like he hit his head or something.
Yeah,
Or
he's having
whatever.
one of his
That's
moments. Don't
it's
worry,
really
he can still fight.
it's tiresome
Yeah.
and it's taxing, and it just makes you. It's I'm trying to think how to put this, but it just diminishes the game. It diminishes everything that you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It makes everything feel unserious in a way that's not amusing or enjoyable, but it makes it feel unserious in just a, like, what am I doing? Why are we doing this kind of
Yeah. What does it do
thing?
as a DM if you're the one running the game and you pause it and Carl doesn't show up and maybe Andy does show up?
Right.
And you're in the middle, you're halfway through the dungeon. Like, how do you feel when you're trying to run that and square that circle?
I mean, in my thinking, I've always been. I don't think. Let me restart a sentence. I'm trying to say too many things at the same time.
I'm sorry. I should let you finish before I hit you with my 3 next follow-up questions.
I always like the idea of being able to look at what's happening in the game and relate it to a kind of in-world story that's unfolding. And so the natural thing for me is if we pause the game somewhere in a dangerous place and we come back and Carl's not here, then somebody else is handling Carl's character because the character is still there.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for there to be a, this disjointed instance where he's struck by something. I mean, you can always make something up, but that is it, as I said, it weakens everything. It diminishes the impact of everything. It undermines everything that's going on. And aside from that, this is just like a petty grievance of mine. I think the biggest impact of one-to-one time of the campaign existing without caring about your characters, the biggest impact is that things happen in the world, whether you like it or not. Things just happen. The factions do stuff. The other characters do stuff. The NPCs do stuff. And as far as the question about the sort of self-indulgent question about, oh well, what about my special character? Well, your character can be special, but you have to actually earn it in the arena.
Right. Oh, that's right. You're trying to earn your place. You're trying to make it into the play report, right? The session
That's
that
right.
the DM's going to blog about. You want your character to be the main character of that session.
Yes, and your character can be the main character.
Yep.
I mean, you can destroy a whole campaign if you do it right.
Or you can be the comic relief if you die in a humiliating fashion. Right? Let me catch up with the chat. Bradford Walker says 1-to-1 time starts making sense to people as soon as the consequences hit them directly and immediately.
Yes.
Follows up with, and yes, the biggest hang up conventional play is that it makes people think that the game is about them. It's not. The world matters. You do not.
Yes, that's right. It's a shallow way to approach the game, to just swim in self-indulgence like that.
So yeah, here's the thing is, again, I remember how I thought before, and I remember how I felt when I started experiencing it. I'm trying to put myself back into the place of someone that has a hard time, because I feel like there's a lot of people that like bounce off of these ideas because based on the assumptions they make about play, they seem ridiculous on the face of it. And if you haven't experienced it, there's really no way that you can imagine how it's gonna go. Why is it that all of a sudden, if I don't play, I'm gonna miss out on something in the world? Why is that more compelling than no, the world will wait for you? Right? Why is it more interesting if it's not Burger King and I can't have it my way?
Yeah.
Why is that more compelling? Why does that last longer than 6 sessions? Whereas everything that's tailor-made and written for the players by a DM who's desperately trying to string their actions into the plot he already wrote. Yeah. Why is something that seems like so much work and so serving of the players, at the end of the day, why is that less compelling than a world that doesn't care about you and you can die and it will keep going without you?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you have just said is just a rhetorical summary of everything that's wrong with conventional play. You've hit just about every point. I've written. I hate to just go on at length about this topic about people that just don't get it, because I feel like I am, I have achieved a great distance from those people in my way of thinking, and it's
Hmm.
harder. It becomes harder for me to remember what it was like. It becomes harder for me to connect with them. It becomes harder for me to,
Well,
let's say, feel sorry for them, or
if you
express
don't mind
pity.
me saying, it
Yeah.
seems like you were already well on the path before you found John Mollison and Jeffro Johnson
Yes.
and that kind of stuff. You had bumped into this deeper way of play as well.
Yes, and the thing that attracted me uh, to Jeffro's blog through John Mollison was, I'm 90% sure it was this discussion about one-to-one time. Because
Mhm.
as I said, when I was, in 2014 or whatever, I was just running the game with a bunch of guys. We were just messing around with stuff. They just let me do whatever. I would say, "Hey, we're going to do this." They would say, "Hey, that sounds neat. Let's give it a shot."
Cool.
Um, but I did not have a sophisticated uh, terminology. I didn't have a typology of everything. I didn't have the AD&D DMG, which I
Mhm.
desperately should have had. I desperately needed at the time. Didn't know it. Had no clue. I didn't have all these things, so I could not articulate what was happening here. I could not understand what I was seeing. But when I ran into Jeffro, he was talking about this stuff. I instantly knew what he was talking about. And it's funny because I haven't found anybody. Most people that get turned on to Jeffro, they disagree with him for a while,
Yeah.
and then they try something, and they come around to his way of thinking, let's say,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like that. But when I read what he was doing with one-to-one time, and he was talking, the discussion was around things like patrons and stuff like that. I just instantly, it unlocked all that for me. And that was something that it was years ago. It was something that had happened in my thinking. It was in the distant past.
Mhm.
It was something
Well,
I had forgotten about, even, let's say.
speaking of Jeffro,
Oh yeah.
let me show this. So you guys may be familiar with this slim volume, How to Win at D&D by one Mr. Jeffro Johnson. And if you are fortunate to have a copy, and if you aren't, go to Pylum Press and order one. But if you look at the back, who should appear as a blurb on the spine. Well, not the spine, on the back of the book, but Rule of Thule himself. Let me just read this quote, and you tell me if you remember where it came about. Right now, there are not many ready to accept BroSR play, but I'm confident as time goes on that the intelligent, passionate TTRPG players will naturally gravitate towards BroSR and away from bad, confused designs. Hold the gate, keep the beacons lit, the fight rages on. Rule of Thule. Do you feel like that has borne out that prediction that you made back then?
Yes, I do think so. I do think that there is a cluster of people that are swirling around this hobby.
Yeah.
Most of them from a distance because it smells bad these days. But there are these people in the wings, so to speak, that are hovering, waiting for this realization to hit them.
Yeah.
And they are naturally ready for this. They are naturally ready for these new methodologies. They are naturally ready to experience the fullness of this game that they just instinctively understand is there, but they've never been able to get it.
Yeah. And it's got to be embarrassing to have someone come up with stuff that seems revolutionary and then they point to the manual that you read 40 years ago and have them say, it's all in here. And it's like, we've lost it. We haven't kept that which was there.
Yeah,
And
probably. I wouldn't know.
yeah, that's right. We're both in the same kind of boat where I didn't play D&D before. I came across the bros and I was just like, you got a better way? All right, show me. And it was just right in.
Right.
So okay, so you've been playing with this stuff. At what point did you move from Worlds Without Number to the 1E DMG? Like, when did you pick that up? And was it after you started reading Jeffro?
I've never played, just to be clear, I've never played Worlds Without Number. I played Stars Without Number, and it was also...
Sorry, my bad. Stars Without Number.
This is not really anything big, but I think it was the first edition, and I've seen the second edition, and I don't know, it felt weird to me.
Okay.
So just keep an eye on that.
First edition, Stars Without Number. My bad. There's a bunch of without numbers.
Now, I have not...
A number of them, if you will.
I have not been able to get a group to play AD&D. So I'm more on the Axe side. I've done stuff in Axe, like more similar to B-Dubs.
Okay. Have you read the DMG though?
Oh yeah, I've read the DM. I mean, I've read those a lot. I mean, I have multiple articles that, analyzing various aspects of AD&D. I think a really important one is the one that's about mass action. If I could just get everybody that's floating around to read the article about mass action, I think they would instantly understand what I'm talking about. They would instantly say, "Oh, that's what we've been doing incorrectly all along. This is a huge solution set to problems we didn't even know we had." AD&D solved things like that, and this article is about the 1 minute round and the things that it mean, the implications behind what's happening in the game when you're playing 1 minute round and you're playing side initiative and all these things.
Let me see if I can find that one.
Oh yeah, I'll see if I can hunt it down quick for you.
I'm just going to type mass action into the search bar. Combat breakdown, mass action design. Is that the one?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Alrighty, let me click share, copy link, and I'm going to chuck it in the comments right now in YouTube.
Now, most of the guys that are listening to this probably are at least a little bit familiar. A lot of these things will be familiar to you.
Yeah.
But I really go into detail. I break it down. I compare he goes through an example combat in, I'm pretty sure, I guess it's the PHB that he's going through the example.
Page 104, it looks like, from your... I'm just going to pull this up right now.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I got it on my other monitor.
He goes through an example to sort of teach you about how the game runs, like, how the combat procedures work. He says, you do this, and then you do this. And if the players do this, then you do that. He's explaining to you how to use his game.
Yeah. So here's
And
the
I
article.
do the same thing. I do the same thing, but I do it using the sort of modern design, like the atomic, cutting up everything into little grid footsteps and
Hmm.
going individual turns. And I analyze the differences between these two things and show how mass, like teamwork and various other things, are actually impossible in these little atomically split up styles of combat resolution.
Yeah. I love how you list the reference, what book and what page number as you talk about
Oh
each
yeah,
topic,
for
so
sure.
people can read along. That's
Very
awesome.
important. And this is there's a lot of like referencing here, but this is all mostly on one page in the book.
Yeah.
If you click the little
I do,
bar
and
thing on the left.
I have always loved your little diagrams. I mean, on the Substack, or was it Medium, wherever you were blogging, like you
Yeah, I've
always do
always
these
been on
little
Substack.
the Substack, these like black background, multicolored, like even
Oh
for
yeah.
BMD and like vehicle combat and like stuff like that. I've really enjoyed your little drawings.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
look at that.
actually it's a color scheme that I devised for myself for taking physics notes and
Oh, okay,
drawing diagrams, because like you have to distinguish between different elements and the diagrams get really messy. So
cool,
I just open it up and doodle this stuff. Uh, anyway, it's a really long article, but it's
in
I would
depth.
say it's definitive. This is the definitive uh, atomic turn designs are just defeated outright
Yeah,
in this article. You don't need them, you don't want them, and they cause you to fall into a pit basically by using them.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's one of the cool things about the abstraction in, the bigger turns and rounds in AD&D 1E, because how many times has someone like failed a dice roll and they've explained to you what they were doing, like, I'm going to swing my sword up under his arm and do the one stab, and like they're like, well, that should have worked, how on earth did he not? And people are like, they start breaking on their head canon of the move by move, and
Right.
this is more abstract. It's saying, no, this is like many feints and parries and lunges and attacks, and like this represents like a brawl going on, and when you hit, it means one of your attacks got through. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
you're narrating move by move what you do with
I
your elbow.
actually
And
the example that Gygax uses here is brilliant, because
is there a
this
section
is
I can
what this
scroll
is
to?
well, I mean, it's kind of near the bottom.
All right, yeah.
All
Everyone
these
look
are
away
split
from the
up
screen.
very
Don't get sick.
heavily. These are all split up very heavily, but there's a section where he's talking about the orcs are going in and grappling, and this idea of like, okay, the orcs are going to run up and just grapple people to trap
Yeah,
them. This simply does not work if you split it up one by one by one,
yeah.
because the first two orcs, excuse me, the first two orcs may succeed on their grapple or they may fail, and depending on how the earlier ones do, the later ones will come in and try to grapple, or they'll just continue to do attacks and things like
Hmm.
that. And it just creates a crazy story, which by the way takes ages to
Yeah.
resolve and figure out what actually happened. Whereas in AD&D, you just say, okay, well, these guys are running up and they're grappling, they're trying to just hold you down, and that's it. That's the turn. That's a description. You can roll a few dice to
Hmm.
see how successful they were, and it just makes more sense. It just makes so much more sense that way.
It goes quicker. It fits in your head better. Everyone understands what's going on in the combat.
Yeah, tracking every footstep and that kind of thing. I mean, that's he actually, and I outlined this in this article. He explicitly tells people not to like worry over every little parry and riposte,
Hmm.
because that causes people to create extremely complex combat systems, which are onerous, which
Yeah.
are time consuming, but also they don't fit the heroic adventure theme, he says.
Mm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you guys should definitely read this article 100%.
And if
I wish I
they,
could get everybody to read this.
if they if they want that play by play, they can still imagine that in their head.
Exactly.
Just because
Yes.
the outcome doesn't mean you can't do the G.I. Joe action figure roundhouse kicks in your head, and this is how we got there, right? Like,
Yeah, there's two things to say about that. One is that when you're doing the mass action style, the AD&D style, you can always go backwards from the resolution and say, "Oh, this must be what happened."
mhm.
But if you do the other style, you will create I mean, you're sitting here with playing a weird chess game where you're maneuvering everybody around one by one, and this guy now, oh, whoopsie, now he blocks the ranged attack or whatever, and it's very complicated. And by the end, you are left wondering what happened.
Yeah.
But there's no indication on the field left of what happened.
So you're an
It's just a
elder
huge flurry
millennial.
of stuff. Yeah.
Did you ever play any of like the older JRPGs like Final Fantasy and stuff?
Well, it's a funny story because Final Fantasy actually derives from the Wizardry series.
Okay.
So I mean, Final Fantasy pretty much stole everything from Wizardry. Wizardry is actually an American game, by the way. It's
Nice.
made by an American company. But it became very popular in Japan, I think largely off the back of Final Fantasy and a lot of I'm not saying they didn't do a good job or whatever. I've never really particularly liked Final Fantasy, but a
Well,
lot of people love it for various reasons. But
the
anyway,
reason I bring it up is because I can remember the first time I got in a fight in that game, and I had 4
right.
characters in my party, and there was like 2 monsters, and it just seemed so polite. You would step forward,
Yes.
you'd go, and then you would step back, and then the monster would step forward, and it just did not feel like a fight. It
Right.
was like, what am I watching? Why are they fighting like this?
Yeah,
And
the
it's like it was
story
it
is
was
very
8
abstracted. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it kind of reminded me of what you were talking about is like if you try to go down to the play by play, you get this weird disjointed thing that doesn't really fit well when you try to tell somebody
Exactly.
about it later.
Exactly. Like if you took a snapshot of every turn and then just fast forward it, the story would be totally insane. It would make no sense at all. Whereas if you say, well, okay, we all rush up into melee. Well, guess what? You all rush up into melee and everybody tries to hit and you roll some dice and see how many hits you got. It just makes sense.
Yeah. In the chat, Bradford Walker says, I need some millions. There's a couple of ideal lakeside properties where I am for a clubhouse. So we got 15 people watching now. If one of you is a millionaire, get in touch with Bradford. See what you can put together for the clubhouse. He also says,
Endorsed.
yeah, the only time that you need that beat by beat accounting is when it's hero figure versus hero or boss monster, not against line troops. And even then, it's not necessarily desirable for useful play. So, yeah, I feel like most of the people that are going to be watching this like kind of already agree. I feel like, well, I don't know. I feel like part of my audience has already tasted of these fruits, and they have acquired the forbidden knowledge and know of what we're speaking. And then some might just be like, well, I don't know what he's on about, but Dunder's kind of a nice guy or polite or something. So I'll watch. And then they're like hitting this stuff and they're like, what on earth are these guys talking about? All I can say is just try this stuff. Try it out.
For sure.
See if you don't have the same experience that Rule of Thule had where you're like, stuff is starting to make sense that has never made sense. Alignment doesn't really make that much sense in 5e. Go back to the source and realize what it's really about, what it's for. I had John McGowan on last week, and one of the
Absolutely,
points he likes to make is that the domain fortress rules are a direct result of encumbrance, and that if you don't track encumbrance, there's no reason you should expect all of the follow-on knock-on effects that you've just killed a load-bearing rule. And you're not going to have the kind of game that you read about or that changed the world. You're going to have something less. It's not that each edition of the game has been, let's make it better and better. It's let's make money on something. And how do we keep selling modules? And if you have a complete game that doesn't need any modules, that's not as lucrative as something that always needs to be tweaked and added to and patched and updated. Right?
Yeah, they definitely are optimizing something from edition to edition, but it's not what you think. It's not the quality of the game.
Yeah.
It's not the stuff that you're really looking for.
Right on. We've got a super chat. Patrick, $5. Great show, guys. I love Rule of Thule's stuff. I don't think
Patrick,
you're
I love
alone
your
there.
stuff.
Yeah. I have the best audience. You guys all make things. You're all thought leaders. Like I don't know how I blundered into this amazing community, but thanks Patrick for the $5 and the support. And
Hey, Patrick has great articles too. He has a Substack as well.
yeah, Patrick's in the Bro XD,
Definitely
man.
look at that.
Yeah. Right on. So, okay. Where were we? We were talking about you can win or how to win at D&D. You get quoted on there. Were you surprised to see your name on the back jacket, or had
I
they canned
was
that midway
actually, I
through?
was waiting at the time that I learned about this. I was waiting on my copy,
Yeah.
and I was scrolling Twitter. At the time it was called twitter.com.
Oh yeah.
And
It was blue and there was a bird.
um and I just saw somebody posted a picture of it, of the back of the book, and I was like, well, that's interesting. And I start reading it. You just reading from the top,
Mhm.
as you do. And I realized, wait, I've heard this before. And it was because I said it. It was a surprise to me.
Oh, and you've got some good company on there. Drew Bay also got a blurb, and I'm not
Yeah,
sure
for
who.
sure.
I'm curious who AT is. That feeling when you finally realize that Trollopulus isn't named after trolls.
It's not
Oh
named
man,
after trolls.
what could it possibly be? Yeah. So
Named after the economic system. Okay.
So when you started following Jeffro and started interacting with some of the bros, did you have like the standard experience where you guys argued until you were friends, like the whole 80s kickboxer fight it out until you're best friends by the end of the scene, or like was it smoother for you than that?
That's an interesting question because I don't think I really got into it with Jeffro.
Mm-hmm.
I had a highly parallel experience with the Bro SR guys, Jeffro and B-Dubs and everybody involved. So what I did was I would hang around, I would listen, I would participate in some of the conversations, I would think. That's
Mm-hmm.
the most important thing, to reflect on what is said and try to line it up with something that you've seen before or something that you've experienced before. And that's a lot of that process is why I ended up writing the various pieces that I've got on the Substack. Because a lot of this stuff is analyzing, like, what are we doing when we're playing the role playing games? What are we trying to get at? What is the goal here? What is the like? How do you go about this better, in a better way? Essentially, because
That
there
is
are better
such an
ways and
interesting.
worse ways.
Yeah, that is such an interesting question to ask because I feel like the going advice is such the opposite of that. Right? Like, what is it that most YouTube channels say about how to DM or how to play the game or whatever? It's this mishmash. It's this rulings over rules. It's this.
Yeah,
There's no one way to play. We're all. Each DM is a game designer, and it's the candy store model where you can just you read everything, read a ton of games, and then pick and choose what you like and throw it in there.
right.
And that to me feels like something's like, how on earth do you get better at that? How do you get better at like mishmash of everything? But it is worthy. It is a worthy pursuit to think about this stuff and say, what is the most satisfying way to play? How do I improve? And it seems like the path to mastery cannot be anything goes.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Anything goes is nonsense.
But it seems like that is so anathema to the current wisdom, the current zeitgeist.
Yeah. I don't know who
So
to blame
weird.
for that either. I think a lot of people blame Wizards of the Coast maybe for that,
Hmm.
for acculturating that attitude, we'll say, because Wizard of the Coasts, um, one thing they definitely have done is they have attracted people that are tinkerers, people that are, they're intelligent and they like
Yeah.
they like puzzles, they like to problem solve, they like to manipulate systems and things like that. And they've attracted those tinkerers. And I mean, if you see yourself as a potential game designer or a tinkerer, then Rule Zero is perfect for you because
Hmm.
it's like the maneuvering space. It's like the footing you use to move around. It speaks to that instinct. But as soon as you suggest instead to keep the game's rules intact and to modify the approach rather than the rules,
Yeah.
uh, these uh, these people instantly just recoil.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it's a learned attitude on their part.
Mm. Yeah, because I would think if I were a tinkerer, if I were someone that was building my own rule set, well, I would want the people that play test it for me and try to enjoy it. I would want them to play my tinkered rule set. I would want
Right.
them to play the game that I had built. I wouldn't want them to throw a bunch of other mechanics from other games on mine and say, "Oh, I'm playing Dunder's game." Because it's like, no, you threw out half of it. You're not getting good at my game. You're doing something else.
Sure.
So I'm not trying to say tinkering is bad. I'm not trying to say that there's only one good game out there, but I'm trying to say if you say you're going to play D&D, you got to play D&D because your players
Yeah.
can't get better at guessing what's in your head, especially if
Well,
you're changing it all the time.
I can actually clarify this particular point, I think.
Okay.
So if you're a tinkerer, and B-Dubs talks about this a lot, and Jeffro has nothing good to say about these people, but a lot of these guys don't care if anybody plays the game that they imagine, let's say.
Hmm.
They are not that concerned about it. They're not concerned about creating something that's a shared experience between people that people can bond over. They're just it's just a fun little puzzle problem that they've got in their head.
They're
Uh,
doing a Sudoku.
so what happens is they create something, and just the fact that they created something is what is satisfying them. It's like this loop of never playing the game, always thinking about the game, never. It's like it becomes an asocial activity in that sense. And I think that's a lot of the a lot of the cruft that's in the hobby is just these guys that were attracted uh, uh, by Watsy or by whoever.
Hmm.
And they're not really, when people say that, oh, these guys are not really playing the game, it's true. They're just thinking about the game. They're just thinking about playing the game. They're thinking about, well, if I was to consider playing the game this way, how would it be different? And that problem is what satisfies them. And it's not about the game. It's not about like the experience that you're sharing with other people. It's not about all this stuff that we're talking about, the campaign being over the players. That's
Yeah.
all it's like too close to the metal for them. I think it's like outside of their line of sight.
Yeah.
And on that
I,
point, generally
yeah.
speaking, the Bro SR, if somebody, it's very difficult to describe what the Bro SR is for many reasons.
Yeah.
But I think if I had to give a simplistic summary, I would say their key contribution to the hobby is that the way that you approach the game matters.
Hmm.
And some approaches are vastly superior to others. And that the rules, even though keeping the rules as they are is part of the approach, the rules are so much less important than the approach to the game.
Hmm. Interesting. Say more about that.
Well, I mean, so for example, think about all the various little rules and like little systems that are in AD&D.
Hmm.
AD&D is often viewed in a negative light as just a collection of little scattered systems, like little
Little mini game.
isolated,
Yeah.
yeah, little isolated systems just kind of orbiting around nothing. But the truth is that if you approach the game correctly, though a lot of those things that seem like totally needless, pointless, whatever, those are essential.
Hmm.
Those are the essential pieces. And I think Jeffro put this better. I'm trying to remember the quote. I'm trying to like quote him verbatim, but he said something like, AD&D is a toolkit for managing BrawnSteen interactions.
Yeah.
And that is the deepest insight that you can spell out about this entire hobby. About this is a fact about AD&D that is essentially, it's almost restricted to AD&D. Nobody else behaves this way. No, you can't point to the other games that behave this way. The AD&D is a game, or let's say that it's incomplete in the sense that you have to bring the right approach to it for everything to line up to fall into place. I tried to write an article about this, but it's a very complex subject. The article is called Resolution Systems, Part 1. And I'm going to come out with Part 2, and it'll be better. I'll clarify everything. But this observation that Jeffro had is like really his key contribution about AD&D is a toolkit for managing BrawnSteen interactions. That is the key to everything. That means the rule book is there to serve the approach.
Yeah, that is huge. Like, I don't have my hands all the way around it yet. Right?
And on that, since I'm just monologuing here, I might as well talk about conventional play.
Right on.
Because conventional play is sort of the de facto, he's the guy, he's the heavyweight champion that everybody's supposed to do, right? So everybody's supposed to model that guy. But conventional play, as far as, well, now I've run myself off the tracks, but let me think how to put this. Conventional
By the
play
way,
is
don't
not
feel bad for monologuing. If you're not monologuing, I'm not doing my job well as an interviewer. Like, that's my whole deal, is to try and set these up. So take it away, Chief.
I would say that conventional play is thought of as an approach to the game. People think of it as a way to approach the game.
Yes.
But I instead would say that it is not an approach to the game. It is what happens when you lack a deliberate approach.
Okay.
It is like, to use a golf metaphor. I don't play golf, but I think it's a wonderful, respectable game and so on. But conventional play is kind of like a sand trap, and the you get stuck in there because you fail to keep the ball on the green. Essentially, it's what happens when you're not paying attention. It's what happens when you're not deliberate. When you are pulling down the guardrails and just walking around blindly.
It's the
conventional
default
play is what happens.
It's the default performance of the untrained practitioner.
Yes, perhaps.
And so we are to borrow probably a controversial metaphor, we are issuing CDLs to people who may not even speak the language to pass the test. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have gone there.
But yeah, anyway, to summarize all the rambling that I was just saying, I think the most important contribution of the BroSR is that the approach matters. Like how you approach the game, the mindset that you come into the game with matters. And that there are superior approaches and vastly inferior approaches, and that conventional play is the lack of a deliberate approach. As soon as anybody is deliberate about what they're doing, about how they're trying to do something, conventional play disappears, or it breaks. It becomes like a stumbling block for them.
And it feels negative, but man, listen, it is not an evil thing to acknowledge that there's a different approach. It is worth fighting, and every human brain has
I'll fight you too.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, every human brain has two things that are fighting against us. We all have cognitive dissonance, which makes us dismiss things that don't tend to be something we already agree with. And we also have confirmation bias, which makes us tend to overly agree with things that we perceive already agreeing with the position we had. So, like,
is it confirmation bias if you're just correct?
Well, no, but here's the thing: is like, when it comes to, so everybody's got that in their brain. So when it comes to who can you trust and who should you listen to and who should you allow you to cause to question yourself, if somebody has tried both ways and they're telling you there's a better approach, that is a stronger voice to listen to than someone who's only tried one way and tells you, well, the other one can't work. Right?
Well,
So if
most of the
you're
guys that are saying that this style of play doesn't work are saying that they can't imagine how it can
yes,
work.
I can't picture the whole apple in 3D, so therefore it doesn't work. Right? Um,
Yes. Oh,
what would it be like? What if you
Brian
hadn't
has
had
a great
breakfast this
comment
morning?
here.
Yeah, let me throw that up there. Well, he's got a few bangers. Let me get all of them. First, he says, "We changed it all, but that game sucks." Right? It's Gygax's fault because he said players shouldn't know the rules. He did kind of set himself up
Possibly.
with that.
Possibly.
But I think this is the one you were referring to. Brian says,
Yes,
you only need rules for things whose outcomes are uncertain.
that's right.
These are the things that tell the referee how to adjudicate things.
Yes. And this is this is an attitude that I share, and I try very deliberately to put into everything I do, which is, I guess you could say that it descends from Kriegspiel, where
Hmm.
the idea is that there isn't like a rule book. You have a referee who is knowledgeable, who sort of knows everything that there could be to know about how things resolve and how different situations pan out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And the rules in an RPG rulebook are not the game. They are just they are something that's there to help you fill in the gap of not being that expert, not
Yes.
being that guy that knows everything.
Yeah. Since you haven't seen, the Prussian line of battle,
Yes.
here's the rules you can fall back on so that you can make the same kind of judgment call that the guy who was there actually would if he were the
And this
DM.
just underlines how the real game is only found with the right mindset and approach to the game, the right methodology. Because if all the rules is just telling you what to do uh, for things that you otherwise wouldn't know, then there's just a huge blank negative
Yeah.
space in the game if that's all they are. And the
Yeah.
approach, the methodology, the mindset that you come in with is what's important.
And to your quote from Jeffro about the
Yes.
AD&D 1E is a rule set for adjudicating BrawnSteens.
Yes.
And knowing that BrawnSteen wasn't even on the map, like the only way that you could have those experiences until recently was either you went to a convention and played actual
Right.
Braunstein with Wesley himself, or you got in on the Summer of Stein this year or last year with what the bros were doing. So, like, if the whole point of 1E was rules for adjudicating this large, powerful faction PvP event, that what the game really was, like, you have no hope of approaching the game correctly if you don't know what Braunsteins are, right? Like, if you haven't seen Secrets of Blackmoor, if you haven't watched how the
Right.
game got started, if you haven't either played with Wesley, the real one, or played with one of these Bro SR ones where we use things from ongoing campaigns to set up either a night or a play by post for a week, or maybe a month of just crazy always on, uh,
Yes.
you know, one-time play. Um, yeah, so if you don't have that piece, maybe that's why alignment doesn't really make sense, because you don't need to know who you're going to align with if you're not playing these prisoner's dilemma games where you're up against part of the other players. You're like, I need to make alliances. I'm playing Survivor, but it's on D&D,
Hmm.
right? Um, you just don't even have the vocabulary. You don't even have the framework, as you put it, the approach. You don't have the approach to understand what the game can be and what it was supposed to be and how that's different from what you have now. And that's not to say that you aren't having fun with whatever you're trying now, but it is to possibly say that if you try it the more fun way, it won't be satisfying to go back to it.
Right. And I think if, Gygax gets plenty of flack, some of it, most of it, I think, is undeserved. It's just because
Mm-hmm.
people are illiterate. But the one thing that he did not do a great job of was spelling out how he envisioned the game going. There's so
Yeah.
many assumptions he makes about people that are coming into the game, about what they know, and that
Oh yeah.
he basically assumes that you know how to approach the game, that you know what you're getting into, that he doesn't spell it out. And there's a passage, I think, in the introduction of the PHB, possibly, where he says, uh, I can't possibly hope to quote Gygax from memory.
Oh,
He
that's all right.
rambles, man.
Yeah,
But
he's wordy.
but he talks about how, I think there's one spot in the intro where he talks about, you have a sprawling campaign with players that have many characters, and on one night they'll be fighting huge war game miniatures battles against each other as
Yeah.
opposed factions, and on another night they'll be helping each other survive in the wilderness with different characters.
Yes.
And he should have written so much more about that, and about the assumptions, about the implications behind that, because so many people come to this book and they will read that and they'll just be like, I have no idea how that could be. That doesn't register to anyone that's just brought up on conventional play.
It's
That
alien to
sounds
what they're used to.
insane. Yeah, that sounds like
Yeah,
a completely, you're talking about something totally different to them.
yeah. Well, that is a book that respects you as a DM, and he takes pains to put you on his level. And so a lot of people point to the stuff that he says about that and saying, don't let me do your imagination for you, and like, you have
Right.
full reign. And they're like, okay, so I am the one in charge and I get to do all this stuff. And like, just because Gary assumed you were as good of a game designer as he was doesn't mean that you actually are. He may have been wrong
Right.
about that, especially when you look at the culture that he was in and the war gamers that he came up around. He was making assumptions based on the guys he played with because they knew this stuff.
Exactly.
They'd read their Featherstone, they'd read their
very
Tony Bass.
versed in all this.
Yeah,
They would have
yeah.
experienced all these situations. Whenever they read any section of the book, they would have been like, oh, this is just like that thing that happened, 3 months ago or whatever. It would be natural to them.
So if you aren't one of those guys, he doesn't mean you when he says you're just as good. He doesn't mean you.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself on his level. Make sure you understand it first.
There's something to be said too, which is a flaw that we all have, let's say, post 1900, we'll call it, which is the idea that you can't just split everything up into little elements and then understand all the little elements and then say you understand the thing. You have to understand the whole picture. You have to understand the entire indivisible thing.
Yeah, it's the Neil deGrasse Tyson fallacy, right?
Right.
We're all just bags of cells walking around. We're just bags of cells. You idiot.
Well, my bags of cells are better.
Yeah, just because you hosted Nova Science Now doesn't mean you're smart, guy. Sorry. I keep going all over the place.
Yeah, but I mean that's something that I have found, just rhetorically speaking, when you're out discussing stuff with people, they just don't get that. They don't understand that. They talk about, oh, well, if you do this piece this way, then it messes with that piece. But zoom out one level, buddy.
Yeah.
Like think about the whole game. Think about the campaign, not just your little, what's in your belt satchel or whatever.
Yeah, like it may be more realistic for one weapon to do more than a D6 for whatever time period you're picturing, whatever mastery you have of medieval weapons. But if you take it in the context of a balanced game that was supposed to hang together and simulate this kind of Appendix N Pulp Fiction feel, you can't just pull stuff out because you had one little quibble about it and you don't understand how the rest of the superstructure is built on that,
Right. And it's this instinct towards atomizing everything. Yeah.
Fluid said, your cells are bags. My cells are ripped.
Exactly. Come at me, Neil.
That's right.
Oh
man.
This instinct that moderns have to atomize everything, to break everything down to little components and elements, this leads to people getting stuck on the game as just a bunch of mechanical processes. And so when you talk to them about the approach, it's kind of like talking it's like talking to a fish about water or something. Like they don't understand it. They take that, they don't see the existence of water. They see everything that isn't water. And uh so it's just a lot of people are stuck on that mechanical phase. I'm developing like an idea about what I mean about this. So I think if you consider how people approach or how people engage with RPGs, let's say,
Yeah.
there are 3 levels of engagement with an RPG that a person can have. Maybe there's a secret 4th level, which we'll leave aside.
Okay.
But the first level is just like a shallow glance, like a one-liner. The surface level, the game's presented aesthetic, like a tagline. And there's a kind of guy that's stuck here. We normally don't deal with these people on Twitter, but they're everywhere. But there's a particular kind of guy that's stuck in this level, in this first level of engagement, where he's seeking novelty. He's like going from system to system to system, looking for different things. He's asking, can I be a crab that's a captain of a pirate ship or whatever?
Yeah.
And he's looking. This is the kind of this shallow level is like just self-indulgence. It's just you're glancing through the window, shopping, looking at all the items that are on sale, essentially, and saying, well, which one can I be a crab that's a captain of a pirate ship, right?
Would you say this leads many to purchase the yard of unplayed books on the shelf?
Possibly that's it. I do think there is something beyond that, but
Okay.
but I mean, in video games, this kind of self-indulgence, there is a particular kind called a power fantasy, right? So they intentionally make the game to be like a power fantasy, like it's just a self-indulgent, experience of a particular variety. Like, oh, you can be a super space ninja or whatever. That's what they're going for. And there's a certain kind of guy that's stuck at this first level. So the second level of engagement is as engaging with the game as a mechanical process. So the game part, like the G part.
Yeah.
And these are like dice rolls and systems, tables, lookups, matrices, whatever is involved, which dice, what bonuses, class benefits, that kind of thing. And I think that Jeffro, most of his ire is pointed at people that are stuck here.
Okay.
If you ever see him get mad at somebody, it's usually somebody that's stuck right here at this second level of engagement. And I can understand that because to him, from his vantage point, it's like this is a level of engagement. You're only looking at the things that are in the rule book. You're only looking at the things that move, that like the levers that move forward, explicitly listed in the game. So it's intrinsically static, it's circular, self-referential, that kind of thing. Basically results in players kind of doing the same thing over and over. Like they analyze what's optimal.
Are these the guys that have the monster manual memorized, so that like whenever they come across a beast, they know its weaknesses and they
yeah. And this is the kind of guy that really liked 3.5 too. D&D 3.5, very crunchy, just everything is a mechanical lever, everything is some kind of dice bonus or whatever. But if that's all there is to the game, then I guess what I'm trying to say is if you don't see anything else, then you get stuck here. It just naturally you just naturally get stuck here.
Is this the kind of thing, because Bradford Walker points out there's a lot of things about conventional play that video games just do better.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree.
Level? Okay.
I think that is one of the finest, most succinct observations about this hobby and its relation, the problems that it experiences these days. It's because like people are trying to turn RPGs into video games. They're trying to over mechanize everything. They're trying to have, they're trying to turn every RPG essentially into a board game, which is a slow video game.
Yeah.
And that's a great observation by him. I mean, that's a brilliant way to put it. And like, I can't agree more strongly with that.
Right
but
on.
the thing I was getting at was that if you are stuck at the just the mechanical level, you don't bring anything into the game which is not already there.
Hmm.
And that's really important. That's like, I think, the thing that drives Jeffro insane. Whenever you see him just lose it on somebody, historically, uh, it's always about this topic, I think. But the third level of engagement is where you understand that the game is more than just a rule book. It is it's a complete whole. It's an indivisible thing. It has a distinct metaphysical character to
Hmm.
it. And a more simplistic way to put this would be maybe like it captures, looking at the game this way, the game, when you glimpse the whole thing, it captures and conveys a culture. It captures
Yeah.
a way of understanding, a way of seeing the world, a perspective uh, that's broadly literary, or or let's say that literary canon is like a data storage kind of encoding for this
Hmm.
culture, and it's contained in the game, or it's naturally part of the game.
It's
And this is
designed
where
to
you,
haul those things out of your subconscious if you've been
yeah,
filling it with
yeah,
them all along.
and you can't access these most of the time. You can't access these unless you are approaching the game correctly. You need to be bringing these elements in. That's why, everybody talks about Appendix N. When I say everybody, I mean the Bro SR
Yeah.
guys. Jeffro
Yeah.
talks about Appendix N. B-Dubs talks about Appendix N. The Bro XT. Uh, the reason is because you can't engage with the game beyond the mechanics unless you are unless you are able to be the fish that sees the water.
Hmm. See, now that's a trick, because it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that part of it is like, well, did you ever see the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve? It takes place in Michigan. It's on Mackinac Island at the Grand Hotel, and he falls in love with some woman by going back in time, and he
Hmm.
hypnotizes himself to go back in time, right? And he does it by staring, like he makes sure all of his coins in his pockets are from that time period and nothing newer. And he absorbs the culture so much that he travels back in time.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a great movie. It's an old movie. It's from the 80s. I recommend watching it. But like
Okay, I haven't
the
seen
thing
that. Yeah.
the thing that strikes me about it is it's kind of like the approach recognizes that this game came from a certain culture, and part of seeing the water as a fish is realizing that our culture isn't that anymore. And so we need to
Yes.
use Appendix N. We need to use these rules to try to steep ourselves in that time, to almost tunnel back to enjoy the same kind of game that could only come out of that culture. We
Right.
have to realize how far our culture is removed from it so that we can get back in the mindset to play it
And
well.
for us, I mean, for my generation, I feel like, uh, I feel as though, as millennials, we uniquely perhaps inherited no culture.
Hmm.
I don't know exactly how to articulate that better, but that's what it feels like. I feel like I don't have a literary canon behind me other than what I went out and dug up for myself.
There were
Uh,
enemies of your culture that prided themselves on uprooting it before you
right.
got here.
Um, but anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right. And then this is another thing about being deliberate. You have to be deliberate to approach the game correctly.
Yeah.
You have to be deliberate to see the water as the fish, let's say, and you have to be, especially. I think that one of the important things about RPGs is they give you the opportunity to do this. Uh, this transliteration, or
Hmm.
that's not the way to put it. They give you the opportunity to say, well, I'm going to deliberately buy into a culture that is
Yeah.
encapsulated by this game. And that helps you see what's around you better. It helps you reflect on things by, via juxtaposition. It helps you see that easier.
It's almost a way of becoming an outsider so that you can look at both cultures objectively.
That's a good way to put it. And this
Yeah,
is also why, like Traveler is so distinct
yeah.
from AD&D, because Traveler has a totally different literary canon that it's
Mhm.
drawing from, and all the rules in there. I guess what I'm trying to say is this: if you have never read any books and you try to play Traveler, you probably will just be very confused.
Yeah.
You probably will be
Yeah, if you haven't read
you will be
PC Dub
wondering. Yeah, exactly. You've never
and,
read, like
Jack
Doombarest
Vance,
and Purnell, Niven, and so
Planet of
on.
Adventure, yeah.
I mean, it just won't make any sense to you.
Iron Man says there was fewer fantasy literature at the time, so we all pretty much read the same things.
Yeah, and I think too there was a weird I don't know how to put it, kind of singularity of culture, like global homogenization,
Hmm.
like something that is being spread everywhere uh, at the same time in the same way, so that you can't go somewhere else and like get a distinct feeling that it's a
Yeah.
different place, that it's a different
You got your
there's a
news from
different
Walter
spiritual element.
Cronkite. You got your book from from
Sure, yeah.
B Dalton or whatever the store was in the mall. Yeah. Everyone had the same sources. Okay, so you got us through 3 levels. Was there a fourth, or are you saving that for the
I think
article?
we'll leave the fourth. The fourth is a secret level.
Okay, you got
Maybe
to get
maybe
there
I'll
on
come
your own.
back.
You
I'll
got to
come back.
level up.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
come
I'll
back
come
till
back and
you're at
talk
least
about it.
on level 3, and then you can talk to us about 4. Right?
But see, what did I say? Like the first is like the aesthetic level, and anybody that's stuck here is just everything is just self indulgent. You're like, well, I want to be a space pirate captain,
Hmm.
or I want to be, the underwater seaman, or whatever. It's like very surface level, and the second level, which is where most people I think are stuck. Most of the people that are currently in this hobby, many of which don't belong here, are stuck
Most
at the
likely.
mechanical level. And the third level is where you've got the whole picture. It's like you see the game as a whole. You
Yeah.
see what's in the rule book, but also what the rule book is implicating. You see what's behind it. You understand that it's a vehicle, that this rule book is a vehicle for a literary canon, or let's say it encapsulates a culture somehow. And that's the way that you engage with the game. And in this third way, this is like where Braunstein like runs away with stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got, I guess I would say, is like the actions that you take in a Braunstein, especially if it's just like a one-off kind of thing. It's very knee-jerk. It's like your gut reaction to stuff,
It's
and your gut
primal.
reaction has to be informed by the the literary canon that undergirds everything. And you see that when you play this way, it sort of becomes an obvious observation that the rules are just something that you use to administrate these orders or actions or steps that were taken from a literary basis.
Yeah. Like for most of it, you don't need the rules until you do, and then you pick it up, and you need something
Exactly.
specific that can address your exact moment, and then you roll the dice, or however and then you go back to this treacherous play of you know. I think
Right.
that's very interesting. The going from second to third in the levels you've described, because if I'm stuck at second and I'm just worried about the rules and how are we going to beat the monster and get the ruby,
Yes.
um, PvP sounds like a fail. It sounds like a monkey wrench in the plan. It sounds like something wrong with the game.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
sounds
till
like a
you
way to do worse, essentially.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
it's oh well, there's that one jerk player that doesn't care about the team and is just amusing themselves by backstabbing the other characters
Right.
and wrecking fun for everybody.
That's a great observation. That's a part of the missing perspective.
And when you okay, so if the first level is just like aesthetics, the first level is just like beauty or the thing that you get excited about, the promise of the premise,
Let's say the theme. Yeah,
the theme.
premise. That's good.
And then the second level is the knowledge. Like you're starting to understand the game and
Exactly.
how the pieces work together. The third would be the level of wisdom, where you understand, you've kind of transcended the details and you're starting to see the whole picture. And that's where PvP in a BrawnSteen becomes more fascinating and more compelling and more fun and has more depth when you realize that you're not up against the rules, but you're up against another mind, especially if it's another mind that understands the rules as well as you do. And you're both trying to find ways to gain advantage. You're
Yeah,
trying
that's a
to
great way
align
to put
for a
it.
little bit. Yeah.
Great way to put it. And I
I
think
don't think
that
I
there is
realized
an
that until I
element
just talked to you just now.
there is an element to it that's like it's like you're against someone that's possessed by the same spirit you are, essentially. That's what it feels like, because you're not actually, the guy plotting something going on in the game, and he's not the guy plotting something going on in the game, but you're
Yeah.
both sort of possessed by that spirit. It's very interesting. It's a it's it's something that is inaccessible to people that are just, turning the crank, rolling dice,
Yeah.
whatever. There's nothing wrong with rolling dice, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. But those are tools that you master on your way up. That's not where you want to get stuck.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just a way to decide things. So dice can do two things. They can either decide the answer to a question,
mhm.
or they can reveal a fact. That's the only things they can do. And if you understand that, you understand immediately, I think, that um, a role playing game cannot be a mechanical process
Yeah.
unless it can play itself. If it can play itself,
Well,
then
I
okay,
mean,
we can talk about it. But
I've been
that's
hitting
a
this.
completely different thing.
I've been thinking about my channel. I'm coming up on 2 years, and I've been thinking about, like, if I wanted to actually play the algorithm like a gamer instead of just having these amazing conversations all the time and hoping something sticks. Like, I think the channels that do well are the ones that have like these little edited videos that they release twice a week or whatever. So I'm not great at that. I'm not great at YouTube. I have access to amazing people such as yourself, and I get you on here and we talk about deep stuff, and that's all I really do. But I've been thinking about, okay, how can I use solo play games to create dungeons that I can then drop into my face-to-face AD&D 1E campaign. And so I've been playing one called Four Against Darkness, and it is
Hmm.
fun, but you're just rolling dice, you're figuring stuff out, and you're fighting, and it is not role playing because it's at that second level where you're just
Right.
rolling the
Yes.
dice and just turning the crank. And
I think that's a great observation about these about solo games. First of all, solo games are that's not really, I don't see that as like a way forward with to do something better in the hobby, but I will say that solo playing is extremely effective. It's a practical method to train yourself to figure out all the little nuances of the games.
to get the book
Um,
control.
to Yeah, yeah, for sure. But there, I mean, there are so many questions that arise when you're playing the game, and they're just like little side questions. Like you
Mhm.
do something and you wonder, well, what if it happened this way? And it lets you think about that in a different environment. But I would say that, what you're saying, if I was to diminish what you're talking about, it just sounds like uh session prep with extra steps.
Yes. Yeah, session prep with extra steps and maybe like a little bit of a mini game to keep my fascination with it when my mind might want to wander to other things.
I do think though that solo playing is a really great way to train yourself. I mean, there are
Yeah.
so many things that I thought I understood about AD&D until I sat down and made myself some maps, and I started going around and I started thinking, well, I need to hire some guys. How do I do that? It
Mhm.
brings up all the right questions. It
Yeah.
trains you on the mechanical process of the game, and it can help you. It can help you like find your way to that third level as well, to that
Yeah. Well, that
understanding the literary undergirding.
that also has to do with the approach too, though, right? Like, so
Yes,
I am
for
not
sure.
one to dish on this because I'm only just starting this path, but it has struck me. I've done 1.5 games of this Four Against Darkness, And I realized that my approach has not been good. I've just been rolling up a room, rolling up to see what's in it, and then making an optimal choice with my 4 players.
Right. That's very
If
mechanically
if
oriented.
I
Yeah.
wanted to make this actual practice that would make me better, I need to start describing the room, right? I need to start, even though I'm just with myself, I need to start trying to role play the 4 characters that I'm moving around in here. I need to start practice the things that you want to be good at in the moment. So part of it is just learning the tables and where things are in the book, and then like actually drawing something out that has a history and that has danger and that kind of thing. But part of it is also like, what is my approach? Am I just here to get through this as quick as possible? Or do I want to work on my skills of description and even how many times I say or little things like that that can make me a smoother DM, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, even those elements that you described, I think of those as just part of the process.
Yeah.
Um, the level getting to level 3 is more about it's metaphysical. It's entirely metaphysical. It's accessing deep truths through
Yeah.
myths, through literary canon, essentially, and like the literary canon, the specific canon that you're using is like a focal point that it's like a little laser shining down on your game in a
Mm-hmm.
particular way, in a particular wavelength, with a particular color, and so on. Uh, and so I would think it's more like, for example, when you said, hey, am I just going to blow through these rooms, like roll a die, and I see it has this, and I see it has this.
Yeah.
If instead you imagine there's some imagined author that is writing this game out as it's happening,
Mm,
uh, that's more likely to get you in tune with that kind of thing.
that is good. I
That's
appreciate
more
that.
likely.
Yeah. Just one
Not that
little
I,
tweak.
not that I'm not saying like I'm amazing at that, but I'm saying I think that is the connection that you can get from
Yeah.
doing solo play.
Instead of just making it on myself, just imagine an author that's writing it. Oh, I love that. Okay. Man, look at you just dropping gold on the timeline. Speaking of which, we're in almost an hour and a half into this, and we haven't
Wow.
even talked about BMD yet.
All this smart stuff I'm talking about is embedded in BMD deliberately.
All right.
So one of the things I tried to do is that I know there's a lot of mechanical players out there that are just like stuck at level 2 and they
Mm-hmm.
want something better. And I tried to the structure of the game itself is didactic. And it's probably I couldn't tell you, but it's probably invisible. It's probably not you don't understand that it's teaching you something. You don't understand that it's guiding you in a certain way because like just to give a very simplistic example, one of the funniest things that you see when you're talking, you're talking about BroSR stuff on
Yeah.
Twitter, okay? Some random guy comes in and he'll say, why does your fighter have 10 people with him? That's ridiculous. Why are you playing 10 characters or whatever?
Yeah.
And to us that's funny. That's such a goofy comment, but most people think like that. And so
Yeah.
in BMD, the very first thing that you do after making your character is you recruit a bunch of guys to come with you. That's the very first. You can't do anything without recruiting guys. So
Right
like
on.
these are steps. These are like the game is structured in a way to teach you to think better
Well,
about how to approach role playing games.
you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen any of those videos where they break apart the first level of Super Mario Brothers?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay.
That sounds
So
interesting.
the very first level of Super Mario Brothers is a tutorial level. Like they
Oh yeah, that makes
purposefully
sense.
like give
Yeah, yeah.
you like it teaches you how far you can jump, that you'll die if you hit someone in the front, and it's like the first couple obstacles you encounter are
Mm,
set up in a specific way to make you experience all the things that you're going to need for the rest of the game,
that's very interesting.
like how to
Yeah,
run and jump.
I think there is something. I think there is something. Uh, that same DNA has gone into BMD,
Yeah. Well, and
and
you mentioned Traveler. Like one of the things I love about Traveler that everyone, laughs about how ridiculous it is, but you can die in character creation in Traveler,
Yes,
and
you can
that
also
subtle.
die in character creation in BMD.
Oh,
Same thing.
nice. Well, I like how that subtly tells the player character death is on the line. Your
Mhm.
guy, there is a chance your guy won't make it because this is a dangerous world, and you're going to need part of playing this game is you're going to need to pay attention
Well, I think the
and beat the
reason
odds.
that's a great observation. The reason that I included it is because I want people to know that your character is so irrelevant that it can die in character creation.
Right.
The
I
game,
love it.
what's going on in the game world is a million times more important than your guy, getting trapped and dying to a sniper before he ever got off the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
So these little like subtle hints that okay, here's what's coming. These little
Yeah.
grace notes of like this is the game you signed on for. My ear trumpet has been struck by lightning. Thank you for the dollar a due. Always
I just
appreciate
love
your
that
support,
guy.
man.
He has such a crazy name. I love that. I
Yeah.
just love everything about this guy.
Well, I noticed there's another one. And I wonder if it was just a happenstance or if he was inspired. But I think his name is like an aid worker carrying water, something like that. I'm like, man, you were the first one I saw with the really long name. My ear trumpet has been struck by lightning, aka meth BS.
Hey, you guys
Thanks
should
for the
follow him
support,
on
bro.
Twitter. He's equally entertaining on Twitter.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Um, all right, so BMD. Let me actually pull that one up. So that I can show people what we're talking about. But so you have been talking about BMD for as long as I've been aware of you, right? Like the first
Yeah,
time
that
you
makes
came,
sense.
first time you came on my show was after Bror Adventures.
Yes.
So we have that in our past. That is just shared trauma.
I'm
We
sure
went
I was
through.
already working on it at that time.
Yeah, and I
It's been like
remember.
2+ years of development, which I thought would be 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta throw some of these. Brian says, but I don't want to be insignificant. I want to be Conan. Sigh. Conan is just the stories of the character who managed through skilled play not to die,
Exactly.
right?
Conan is a selection effect.
And then Bradford
He's
says, people are still freaking out over me figuring out the fighter's hidden class feature of command presence via the expert hireling comparisons.
true.
Yeah, good stuff. Um, Sorry, I'm gonna get that link and share the screen. I'm also gonna throw it in the chat for y'all. Um, so what was the germ? What was the source of BMD? Like, what got you on the path to make a game
Um,
in the
I
first place?
I would say this. I actually I had been into what most people call war games like around the same time as I originally dabbled in RPGs.
Yeah,
And we're talking about, these war game battler like 40K, Warhammer Fantasy, um, Kings of War, this kind of stuff. I had already been interested in these kind of things, and I played some historical games as well. The Napoleonics. I've messed around with this stuff for a while, and one of the things that I was always disappointed by, and this is making me reflect on the fact that I've done everything out of disappointment,
okay,
because I was disappointed with how I was very disappointed with my experience in 3.5. It just felt like it wasn't doing something that it should have been doing.
yeah,
That's why I just went down crazy experimental paths and eventually played Stars Without Number. So we're talking about post Stars Without Number experiments, faction turns, 1-to-1 time, which I did not have a name for.
mm-hmm.
I I I could barely have described it to anybody. Uh, I don't think I could have articulated without seeing Jeffro do it, without uh, all the discussions about Gygax and the DMG and everything. Um, but around the same time, I was playing, Warhammer 40K, like little army versus army battles, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I was always very disappointed that it didn't matter if you had like a flawless victory. It didn't matter at all. It didn't
Yeah.
matter how well you won. It didn't matter how uh, it's only a W or an L at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're
And
not gonna move the
even
story forward, right?
yeah,
Chaos is
exactly.
always gonna be there.
Even the W or L is meaningless because as soon as you high five yourself for winning, uh, the game's over and you just kind of you just set up for the next one. It doesn't mean anything. And I thought that this was such a I don't know. I felt betrayed by a promise they didn't make, which was that these battles would be they would be important. Like real battles in history are very important. You know, people are
Mm.
fighting over something that has dramatic ramifications for everyone. And so I think BMD is really the the through line of these two disappointments of my experiments with Stars Without Number. So BMD, the let's say the far future setting is kind of angling more towards Stars Without Number. We'll say
Mhm.
if you wanted to say it's influenced by something, but there's a lot of there's a lot of other literary canon, let's say, that goes into it. Um, but I wanted a game that played and felt a little bit like Warhammer 40K, like a Warhammer Fantasy Battle,
Yeah.
that played and felt a little bit like that, but where it meant something when you won and how you won. And it meant something like if a particular captain died on the field in that combat, it meant something.
Yeah.
And the way to do this is to embed it into a game world, a real game world. And so that's like the core. That's as much of a short summary as you're going to get from me.
So, were you working on this when Helldivers 2 came out?
I had never heard of Helldivers
Okay.
before Helldivers 2 came out. Yeah, so this was I think I've been working on this since 2022, perhaps.
Okay. Because I wonder if, like, sometimes, you just hit the zeitgeist and you're talking about something, and then something comes along that seems to be wanting to scratch that same itch. Have you played it yet? Helldivers 2?
I hesitated to play that for various
Oh, I
reasons.
can imagine. Yeah, you're like, this. I don't want this to look like I'm ripping them off. That's always something that comes up when there's this like synchronicity. But
Well, I'm not really worried about that. I mean,
okay,
everybody the whole I've kind of come to terms with the idea that if you can't rip the right things off, then the literary canon that is embedded in your game is not worthwhile.
yeah. Well, there's such
So
a thing as resonance, and resonance is a good thing.
sure.
You want to aim for resonance, right?
Well, I have noticed that stylistically, at least on the like the first level of engagement, Helldivers does appear like it has the spirit of BMD.
Well, the only reason it came to mind is, well, obviously because you've got like these it's got some of the same inspiration, like Starship Troopers and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
that kind of
StarCraft
thing.
and that kind of
But
thing. Yeah.
the other idea that game had an overworld that, depending on how well the players did in each of their individual
Right.
missions, it would change the map a little bit. And
Well,
like,
I've noticed that, Bradford Walker has also noted this, that video games are picking up on this idea of persistence of worlds and how
yeah,
that's important. That draws people in, and that's something. And it's funny because at the same time, in the RPG space land, they're abandoning it.
yeah, it's so crazy. Well, so there's a game. This is an old game. This will be a cut back to like the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
But when that thing first came out, there was a game for it called Chrome Hounds. I don't
Okay.
know if anybody played that, but it was before party chat was a thing. And so the mechanic was, you couldn't play until you got synced up with a clan. And but once you did, they could get you parts, and there was like an engineering section where you were building your own mechs, and you could build a quad or a two, and you could put artillery or cannons
Okay.
or missiles. And so there was the experimental part, and like you played the battles with your clan. But every season, your clan had to ally with one of three factions that were on the game board, and and it was like a Braunstein in that the three factions would play, and whoever won the most would start capturing territory and squeeze out the
Right.
other two. and like there were certain parts you could only get if you were aligned with a certain faction. So like over the course of 3 seasons, you'd try to do one of each so that you could get all the parts to make all the mechs, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
The
Yeah.
other part of it was you could only communicate with your teammates if you had captured these towers called comm bases, or
Mm.
if you had a mech that had a big radar dish on it where you could keep people in contact. So part of the battle was you know, it's fog of war. You didn't know where the other guys' mechs were, and you were trying to connect the comm bases so you could order your troops around, and
Yeah.
it was just a lot of fun. And then when team chat came out, it just wrecked the game because a lot of it was based on that communication dynamic. But the idea of
Right.
a persistent world that the boundaries of the war get redrawn based on which teams beat the other ones in PvP,
Yeah.
and who they're aligned with at the time.
And
And so,
the fundamental, like the core of what people are at with these kind of designs, or what they're after, I should say,
yeah.
is they're looking. It's not just the fact of persistence. That's just an observation that it's persistent. What people are looking for is that the stuff that's available out there is available. It's not
Mhm.
given to you. You have to go take it. And
Yeah.
through your actions in the game, you can change the game state so that now it's yours. And that is that's like that's what you're after.
Mhm.
That's what you're always really after, in a big campaign game. The campaign is what matters, like the flow of the campaign, how, who owns what, and what's like the situation on the
Yeah.
ground.
Well, I mean,
That's what people are really after. Like that stuff, you can get invested in that. It's just it's a much richer experience, and it's the kind of thing it's not just like okay, well now, okay, well we won, now go next. It's not like
yeah.
that. There's something more to it.
Well, I see it connected to our earlier conversation. Um, in that these are the types of games that you come out there with your level 1 character and the game world says your character doesn't matter, the world does.
Exactly. Yeah.
And winning the game is when you grab the world by the throat and say, "No, my character actually does matter. I'm
Exactly
gonna
right.
I'm gonna draw a line of fire across the stars. I'm going to establish a stronghold, you know, where the orcs once held sway, and I'm going to make this game acknowledge me, and I am going to become the one that's important here." Right? Like that's the unspoken challenge. When the game says you don't matter, a conventional player goes, "Oh, that's no fun. I want the game to acknowledge me right off the bat."
Yeah.
And the evolved player says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna throw myself at this world, and if I keep surviving and getting better, eventually the world will have to acknowledge me." That's the challenge. Oh, I'm really excited for BMD. So BMD is the overarching thing. First Blood, is this just like a first game in the BMD
No,
world,
yeah,
or
I understand that may be a little bit confusing. So, First Blood is just a name that I like. I've added on to indicate that this is an early release. It's like
okay,
the initial public release. But if you buy this, you own spiritually the 1.0 version when
okay,
it is fully complete. When it's got all the right now the game is fully playable. I mean, I found helpful people have found some errors and inconsistencies, things that are not
yeah,
clear, that things like that. But we're going to clean that up, and I mean, I'm already working on it right now. We're going to
so
clean
what's
that
the
up. We're going to get the game to 1.0, and at that point, it will be complete. The idea behind this game is that when it's released, when it's 1.0, it's ready for print, and you can print it. And there's nothing being added to it. This is the game.
yeah,
That was really important goal for me. I really don't like when games say, okay, well now we have this expansion thing that changes how you view all the other stuff in the game. I just don't like that.
hmm. So what's the difference between the Warrior Edition and the Soldier Edition?
It's mostly niceties. So the
Okay,
Warrior Edition is going to be the Warrior Edition is going to be the print ready version
okay,
at the end of it, and the Soldier Edition is basically just the rules. But if you buy either one of them, I mean, the rules is all that the rules that are in there is all you need to play the
hmm,
game. Like the rules and the the understanding of the canon that informs this stuff, like that's all you need to play the game. The Warrior Edition will just be a bit nicer. It'll have it has like a full slate of art
Mm-hmm.
coming, and it'll be like I said, it's going to be the version that eventually goes to print. So it'll just be nicer in subtler ways
Yeah.
because of that. But
And
those are the fundamental differences. Either way, you get the game, you get the rules, and so
yeah,
you don't have to worry about it.
but as we said, like you have been working, like this isn't something you just came up with this year. You've been working on this for a long time,
I have been
and you've
working on
been
this now for about, I think, almost. I think it's been like 2.5 years,
two and a
basically.
half years. You've been working out loud, like you've been blogging about your thought process and
I've been
stuff, and
trying
going
to.
through the game. Yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm really excited about it, and these for your
And by the
31.
way, there's like 1,000. Just counting me, I'm just counting my contributions. There is
Mhm.
at least 1,000 hours of playtesting. So some of the stuff that's in this game is very thoroughly, very very thoroughly playtested.
Yeah, and
And anything that's not is like labeled, and it's kind of it's presented as something that's not as tested yet. But testing is something that is going to be helped by. I just have I have a very small local group,
Mhm.
and once a local group gets good enough at the game, I can have ridiculous stuff in the book, and they just won't see it because they're so used to, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
So getting the book out there in the hands of more people is helping me find the stuff that's not clear to a newer player, where they're not sure when they're coming in, like, what am I looking at? What does this mean here? That kind of thing. And we're trying to clean that up right now.
Right on. So even if you get the Soldier Edition, it's $13.50, which seems kind of like a low bar. Like that's not very much money for these things are over 300 pages. Yes,
Yeah, this is actually almost 400 pages.
almost 400 pages of content.
And it's kind of like, it's just one book. It's got everything that you need in it. So this isn't like a 3-book situation.
Yeah.
Everything that you need is in this one book. It's going to be, obviously it's going to be kind of a big guy when it's printed.
Hmm.
But the idea is that it's just one book, and that's all you ever need, and you won't need anything. You won't be missing anything beyond that. As far as the price, I mean, like the funny thing about this stuff is that I've been working on it for so long. I've sunk so much time into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've really suffered over. I've cut things out which I loved and adored, but they didn't work and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And
Kill
that's
your
just like,
darlings, right?
yeah, absolutely. I basically hurt myself in every way you can imagine, and probably some more for this game. And it's really for such a small group of people that the money is more like, I just wanted to have. It would just be nice if it had a nice like a positive material impact for
Dude,
my
I hope this
family.
thing goes nuts, and I hope you get filthy rich off of it. Let's
Well,
let's talk a little bit about the main characters and like
yeah,
the setting and the conflict.
yeah,
So, you got Knight Sovereigns. I see this dude holding a spear over this awful nasty
right.
alien that's about to buy it. He's got a
He's
gun.
gonna buy something.
He's got his banner, and I especially love the god rays, the light shining through the tatters in the cloak. That's a good. So who are the good guys in this? Who are the bad guys, and why are they fighting?
Well, I guess that depends on your alignment, doesn't it?
Hmm.
But
Yep.
it's pretty clear to me who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, and it's probably pretty clear to the other alignments as
The one
well.
that looks like a demon is probably the bad guy, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Knight Sovereign is like the title of your character. Your character is
Mhm.
part of a hierarchy of uh, Terrans that are, Terrans have I'm trying to think how to put this. I guess I should summarize it. Terrans have lost. They've explored space. They've run into aliens, and the aliens have betrayed them. And in the process, the aliens promised them, peace and prosperity and all this stuff if you will just dissolve everything and let us, let us, here, take our technology and let it
Mm-hmm.
run your government and let it do all this stuff. And now the entirety of humanity is enslaved and they've lost.
Yeah.
And the last, these guys called the Saul Crusaders are the last little gasp of resistance, and they're as basically as anti-alien as you could
Mm-hmm.
envision, and they are here fighting the hopeless war to try to take back everything.
There's a quote that I saw. I don't remember if it was in the copy here or in the section you sent me, where it talks about like they're there for Terrans but not necessarily humans, right? Like they draw a line between.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, this, I don't want to spoil a whole lot of stuff, but
Okay,
basically,
all right, we can
I mean,
keep we can keep
spoil
it
is
secret.
the wrong word, but I just mean I would rather people arrive at some conclusions on their own.
Oh, I
But
got you.
betrayal is a theme in
Hmm.
this, in the setup that I've given. And by the way, the factional setup, and like, let's say the story, the metafiction, whatever you want to call it, the setting is, again, it's didactic. It's to teach you how to think about factions. It's to teach you uh, how to participate within a faction, how to help others within your faction while also often fighting against them. So, for example, in this game, there's kind of many alignments. The three classes
Mm-hmm.
are, they work
Warthane, the
together.
Hierophant, and the Armacogitar.
That's
Am I
right.
pronouncing that last one right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's
Sure,
right.
Bender.
The three classes are, they're made to work together, but there's also a lot of tension between them. They're three parts of very different parts of a hierarchy, and their faction, their larger faction that they're all part of, is kind of a warlike faction, and so war is a sorting mechanism. Conflict is something that is natural, and so they. Well, anyway, if you read the book, you'll see what I mean. But
Okay.
anyway, I was saying that betrayal is a big theme in this, and so any Terrans that are um, working for the wrong side, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are not there to save you. They're there to get rid of you.
Yeah, because there will be people that bought into the lie and
Oh, sure, yeah,
became like the Dragon Masters or whatever from Vance. Like
right, right,
humanity
yeah,
will have fallen to certain degrees, and there'll be ones that. Oh man, remember in Rifts? Remember the Splugorth, and they had like the four humans like piloting their little. You know what I'm talking about? Um.
I'm not a Rifts guy.
Okay. Forget I
I'm
even
not a Rift.
mentioned it. Forget I mentioned it. Some people
I
out there know
watched
what I mean.
JD's game with interest, but
Oh yeah, yeah. The Rift
Rifts doesn't
Bros.
really appeal to me that much. I don't know how to put it exactly. It just
Enough said.
I think it's
um
cool, and I think the stuff, it seems like a cool thing, but the game seems so painful. Like the things it's
yeah.
missing to me, that seems really painful. That's not something I want to subject myself to.
The setting is interesting and the art's
It
good.
is,
And then
yeah,
but
for
I haven't
sure.
played it, so I can't
I
comment. But
love
I
the
have heard
concepts. I mean, the concepts are
I've heard
amazing.
more than one person say that there are you need to have so many books and you need to hunt the rules down through all of them because it's
Right.
not
Well,
easy.
Jeffro bought a whole truckload of books every Christmas, apparently.
Yeah.
So
I might have also partaken in the Christmas festivities. I'm looking at my pile of shame over there,
oh, you
but
got a little shelf over there too, Yeah.
you get a little hit of dopamine. We're like, oh, I got the one with the mechs versus the monsters. So, anywho, um, yeah, I'm excited to get a crack at this. I wonder if there's going to be any bro campaigns or bro BrawnSteens that want to take a crack at BMD and um
Yeah, right now, I mean, there's a few people that have started a campaign, but it's
okay.
just it's just like a small thing. But I think as people get their heads around it, because it's a 400-page book, it's like
Hmm.
everything makes sense to me, but that's not that relevant. It all makes sense to me, guys. So couldn't be
Yeah.
that hard.
That makes sense to the
but
guy who
but anyway,
dreamed it.
as people get their hands on it and get their heads around it, I think we're gonna see. I've already seen signs of people saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go off and do this. I'm gonna go off and try this." I think we're gonna see stuff like that. But as well, if I get some repairs done out of the way of my
Mhm.
house, I can set up my office and run a campaign.
Ooh.
Right now, it's kind of difficult to, evening to evening. It's
Yeah,
sketchy. But back, anyway, I'm going to start up some stuff. It's coming.
right
I
on.
don't want to talk too much about it, but it's coming.
There's more to come. So pay attention to the space, y'all. And if you're like, well, I've already bought it and I want in, definitely reach out and let us know. Or if you're like running one yourself, I am very fascinated
Oh,
in
you know
how
what?
your
I have
experiments go with
a, if people like Discord, not everybody likes Discord, but I have a Discord server up
it. Okay.
where people can participate.
Yeah, chuck it
They
in
can
the
they
private
can help
chat.
me do feedback and stuff like that. That's a like that should be an invite link.
All right. I'm sure they'll let us know in the chat if it didn't work. Anybody that's watching and wants to jump in, I posted the link in the chat. If you're watching the show after the fact, that link may have expired.
Yes, that's by
So
design. I don't want a
if
bunch of riffraff.
yeah, well, but if people do want more Rule of Thule, how can they follow you? Where can they support you?
Well, you can always reach out to me on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You can you can get in touch with me very easily on Twitter. I generally check there at least once a day. You can also you can find whatever the stuff that I'm doing on Substack.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really lost and you just hate Twitter for whatever reason, you can write a comment on Substack saying "Help me." I'll help you, man. Don't worry, I got your back.
And I'm writing. I'm putting his Twitter handle in the chat right now too. It's Rule of Thule, capital R, capital O, capital T. Um,
I don't think they respect capitals, but that's how it's rendered. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, so it doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not.
I don't think
Interesting.
so.
Okay. It might. I feel like here's one thing I'd really like for Twitter to implement. I feel like when I'm in a conversation with somebody and I want to at them, I feel like their name should be the first few that pop up when I start typing an at symbol. And sometimes I have to go pretty far in before I get to the
Yeah,
person
the
who's in the
autocomplete
conversation.
logic,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
autocomplete logic for the
It's like, oh, do you want
for
these 20
getting in touch
unrelated
with
people
people.
you've never met?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
It's like
no, I want the guy that
exactly
was
the first people on the list are people you don't follow or have anything to do with you at all. It's ridiculous.
right on. Man, I cannot believe
Sorry,
it's
what I meant
already.
was I love you, Elon. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't suspend me.
Please don't sick Mecha Hitler at
We
us.
all love Big Brother Elon.
Yeah.
He's our favorite. Please don't
Mhm.
shadow ban us, Elon.
Elon is now and always will be a Terran, not just a human. Right. Um, yeah. So, dude, can you believe it? 2 hours has already gone by. It's like it
Wow, that's
vanished
crazy.
for me.
It's funny because
Um,
I feel like I could talk about, I feel like we could just talk about this stuff forever.
oh, I know. I feel like we didn't really scratch the surface yet.
I mean, I'm gonna have to come back and we're gonna have to talk about BrawnSteens in
Heck yeah.
particular, right? Yeah,
Heck yeah. Open invitation and maybe let me know when would be a good time, like timing for
sure.
you with the game and with the other stuff you've got going on. Maybe when you got your office renovated, and
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
definitely have you back on for sure. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the game or what we mentioned today that you were like, man, I didn't get a chance to get this out. Dunder stepped on my line. Anything in your mind you're like, oh, just one more thing before we go, like Columbo would, perhaps.
Uh, honestly, I said everything that I really intended to say, and if you're interested in the game at all, I promise. If it looks interesting, if anything about it sounds interesting, I promise you will be stuck thinking about it. I promise. There's so much stuff in this game.
Right
There's
on.
stuff in there that the guys who have had it the longest, uh, the public release the longest, they still have not figured out and found. So
Right on. Sounds really deep and rich and just waiting to be mined.
there's a
And
ton of stuff in here.
and it also, if you don't mind me saying, it also sounds very personal. Like I feel like this is bigger than just a game to you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is
I
that
guess
accurate?
I will say that this project, a lot of people. I don't want to talk trash about anybody
Mm-hmm.
tonight.
Still talking about us. That's all right, but go ahead.
I don't want to talk trash about anybody, but most of the RPG releases out there are just rehashes. They're, BX remakes and that kind of thing. And
Basic umpteen. What do I call it? Basic
right.
extreme recloner umpteen in my little rap.
Yeah, yeah. And I wouldn't even call them derivative. They're really just like a little patterned copy.
Yeah.
And this game is absolutely nothing like that. This was envisioned from scratch. I had a deliberate goal for this game to sit alongside AD&D and Traveler as uh nobody would say that AD&D is very similar to Traveler. If you
Yeah.
play both of them, nobody would say that. They're so different. They're capturing something very different. And this game is like that. It's my intent is that it sits alongside those,
Mm-hmm.
as it's not AD&D, it's not Traveler. It is its own thing going off in its own direction, and it's something that I have made for people that uh, I'm I've made it for my younger self who didn't know what he wanted, who knew that something better was out there.
Yeah.
And I try to make it so that if you just follow the game rules, you will learn how to approach RPGs. You will learn how to like really come at them. You'll learn how to think correctly about everything in the right frame with the right priority, and
Yeah.
understand the relationship between the players, the campaign, the rules, and all these things. You'll understand these things just by like that pattern is embedded into the game. And I'm deadly serious about this game being a true contender to sit alongside AD&D and Traveler.
Right on, man.
It's not just some throwaway, it's not just some, personal project that I thought it would be cool to release. I don't like doing releasing stuff like that. um so this is the big one.
Yeah. Well, I feel like coming from a writer who has the perspective you do, especially about the 3 levels, that how can it not be something special when you're like creating this to work at that transcendent 3rd level, not just to be mechanics, not just to be, hey, wouldn't it be cool, if we were all pirates in Morgborg, like,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
to be like something that can stand toe to toe with these cohesive whole games that have stood the test of time. I'm really excited about it, bro. I
And
know
if you see this link here that goes to my Substack archive, that's just a listing of all the things I've ever written.
Mhm.
Every single article that I wrote is me articulating ideas and observations to myself to help me achieve the goal of making this true contender game.
Mhm.
It's all the pathway to this game.
So he's been working out loud, and I'm throwing that link in the chat if you guys want to click on it. Looks like the Discord link might have a weather report saying your link seems to be invalid. And I don't
Oh,
know how Discord works. Like, I don't know if it's like localized and it depends on what country you're in or anything like that. So,
let me try it again.
Yeah, but if you're not following Rule of Thule on both Twitter and Substack, you really need to be, because
Oh, that's just the same. That's just the same link.
well, here, let me click on it and see if it.
Well, that's the one that's produced by the. Well, I mean, you're already in there, so.
Yeah, I'm already in there. Yeah, I am getting a little piece of poop emoji. It says invite invalid.
Oh, that's weird.
It says this invite may be expired. You might have permission to join. Well, we can work on that and check back on this video. If he gets me, I don't know. I guess it's designed to be short term, but if he gets me a good one, I'll throw it in the description to the video. Otherwise, you're gonna have to reach out through the other.
Yeah, you can always
Arnman.
talk to me, and I'll invite you directly, or we'll try to work there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this guy
Arnman
says it
says
worked.
that the Discord link worked for him, so
Okay.
maybe it's a skill issue. Weather report. I
Guys,
don't
you
know.
have to blame Discord. Okay, we're gonna blame the Californians. All right.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
Yeah, but thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. I should have had you on a long time ago. This was an amazing conversation, and I can't wait till our next one.
Absolutely, yeah. I love talking about this whole subject about, you know, getting RPGs right,
Yeah.
getting them to somewhere that's so far beyond what the the ridiculous just clown direction that everything's going.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're having fun with it on the level that you're at, just think of how much fun you'll have if you try one of these deeper levels. There's a reason these games set the world on fire, and we have lost it, but it is not lost forever. We can rekindle it, and you don't just have to play the old stuff. You can play the new one that is based on the principles therein. So
That's right.
definitely give it a shot. If you like these kind of long form interviews with creators and with some of the best brains in gaming right now, go ahead, give us some support in clicking the thumbs up so that me and Rule of Through know that you liked it. And if you want to hear more, go ahead and subscribe, and you won't miss the next one.
Guys, you have to like this one, and you have to get this one more views than the one that B-Dubs is on.
Yeah, we got to beat B Dubs. B Dubs is hard to beat, man. He is hard to beat. But he did throw the gauntlet down there, so it's fair to challenge that. So share this video with your friends, and let's make B-Dubs eat some crow. And with that being said, have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time on This Is Dunder Moose.
Good night.